I think they're fairly obvious to the industry now. I mean, off-site manufacturing isn't a new concept, but it's now, I think, for the first time in 25 years, I guess, that I've been in construction, I think off-site or manufacturer-led construction, let's say, or manufactured content is now being driven massively in many different directions. And it's the first time I've seen in 25 years a real drive, proper drive at all levels of construction towards a manufactured off-site approach. I think the benefits are quite clear. I think you get a higher quality, or can get a higher quality of finish from pre-manufactured or panelized or modular construction. Certainly when it comes to finishes and the quality of finishes you can get off-site, I think that's fairly well established. But I think what I like to see in terms of the change that's coming now is in a more connected approach and a more holistic approach. Other companies starting to work with others, starting to work with the supply chain, and I think we're going to see real improvements in efficiency of production, efficiency of across the supply chain of how we actually install off-site and drive off-site capability and pre-manufactured capability. I think people producing on a mass production level those components that go into off-site is going to transform it. I think there are going to be problems. I mean, construction is a mess. Generally speaking, I was talking to a guy from IBM earlier, and it's a challenge. It's a really complicated sector. I think we all love to think of it as a really complicated sector as well. But it is a complicated sector. It's full of different actors, different clients. Who is the customer in a construction business? It's very difficult to deal with. And I think off-site is going to drive a lot of disruption in traditional supply routes. For example, for us, supplying steel or structural hollow sections for us at the moment into the industry, we would traditionally supply stockholders, some fabricators directly, but stockholders who supply fabricators who then make the components and go to site. If you look at the aspiration of construction platforms or platform DFMA, which is the government's drive, they're looking to disrupt that traditional supply chain. And I think then it's difficult because there's nothing that supply chain in the UK or anywhere is going to do to stop that bowling ball from coming. And either we can be part of the solution, or we can take a stance as a traditional supply chain and go, no, that disrupts our traditional models. We're not having anything to do with it. Well, that's fine, but they will get those products from somewhere. So I think we have to accept that this is going to disrupt things, look at what the opportunities are rather than the negative sides, and see and get involved. And how can we play a role? And at Tata Steel, we are playing as big a role as we can in helping to influence, helping to see how we can help achieve the desired outcomes from a more modular or off-site approach for construction. Well, I think that's where there's been the biggest change. I think for the first time ever, we're seeing government not just put a document out to say, hey everybody, this is what we'd really like to do. They're saying, here's £170 million, go and form the Active Building Centre, go and form the Transforming Construction Alliance, or the Construction Innovation Hub. We're going to help support financially, put money on the table to drive research, to drive digitalization and help the industry move in this direction. But we're not only going to stop there, we're going to get involved in the development of these platforms and how they develop. We're going to have very clear guidance on what we want for the outcomes, and then the best thing of all that are going to make manufacturers like us really stand up and take note, they're going to procure based on that platform approach. That's what I need. Manufacturers need to have business cases to take to the board and say, we have to change our processes. We might need to produce some different products, but there's a pipeline coming. There's a government that is driven to procure based on this approach, and we have to gear up to be able to supply it. And that's what we need. the digitalization of construction is absolutely at the heart of the change in drive to DFMA, off-site and pre-manufactured products. Generative design tools, which are the rules-based, I was going to call it automated design, not quite automated, but that rules-based design approach is now being utilized on schools, being utilized for hospitals, being utilized for residential, mid-rise, high-rise, low-rise. It's going to come into all aspects of construction. And that, in terms of destabilizing traditional supply chains, that's going to have a big impact on traditional design. But it's going to enable architects and engineers to look at actually the implementation of design and how we can do things better, how we can develop that, how we can take something that's easier to build, quicker to design, and add value. And I think that's going to make, again, another sort of exponential increase in productivity and improvements and ability for people to really get the outcomes from construction that they want to achieve. I think that that off-site construction platforms will play a role in helping with that. I think we're all aware that we don't have an unlimited resource of electricians, plumbers, bricklayers to build things traditionally. I think we all know that isn't, it was never sustainable. So moving a lot of that resource into off-site assembly units is good. It's a different type of skill set as well. I think where I get concerned, and I've been to quite a few off-site facilities, is where I see the same number of people doing the same jobs that they would have done on site, just doing it in a factory. I think we're missing a trick there. I think we can be smarter, we can use better manufacturing methodologies to again, ensure that the people that we're employing are adding the maximum value to what they're doing, rather than simply doing what they would have done on site, off site. So I think there has been a little bit of a pitfall perhaps in the approach of some off-site companies in taking that approach. But I think the ones that are going to succeed are the ones that have taken the best of construction and the best of manufacturing and applied a completely new way of designing and implementing those solutions, and they're the ones that are going to win. And that will, I think it will give us incredibly skilled people, but it's a different skill set to what we have in construction now. And what we want to do, again, learning, obviously Tata Steel, massive automotive supply chain that we're involved with, and what we've seen is obviously OEM car manufacturers don't make a car anymore, they assemble a car, and that's obviously what off-site and PDFMA is going to get to. So we won't need, hopefully, those highly skilled people on site where it's cold and wet and dirty. We can use local resource, we can use the right people for the right roles, we can develop real skills in design, in generative design tools, in understanding how construction productivity can be improved off the construction site, and develop those tools, those digital platforms to do that.